He leaned back in his chair, laughter spilling from his lips as he mocked her in French, certain no one could understand. But when the waitress lifted her eyes, calm and unshaken, her reply, delivered in the very same language, froze him in place. In that moment, the entire room learned who truly held the power. The laughter was sharp, arrogant, and cruel. It sliced through the quiet of the restaurant like broken glass. At a corner table draped in white linen, a billionaire with diamond cuffs leaned forward, his voice dripping with mockery. He spoke in French, words laced with disdain, believing the young waitress standing before him could not possibly understand. His companions smirked, their polished watches glinting under the golden lights, their silence an accomplice to his cruelty. The waitress gripped her notepad tightly, her knuckles pale, her eyes cast downward. But when she lifted her head, the fire within her gaze was undeniable. Her reply, delivered in fluent French, was not loud. It was not bitter. It was steady, measured, and piercing, each word a quiet blade that cut deeper than any insult he had ever delivered. The room fell still, forks froze midway to mouths. For the first time that evening, the billionaire had no words. Her name was Claire, and to the world she was invisible. A server weaving through crowded tables, balancing trays heavier than her own body, smiling at those who rarely looked back. But beneath that quiet surface lived a story no one in that room could see. Claire had once worn a uniform of a different kind. The desert heat had burned her skin. The roar of engines had rattled her bones. She had been a soldier, calm under fire, carrying the weight of lives that depended on her silence, her precision, her sacrifice. She had watched comrades fall, heard the final breaths of friends whose laughter still echoed in her memory. When she closed her eyes at night, she still saw the dust rising, still smelled the oil and iron in the air, still felt the unshakable silence of loss. Her return home had been quieter than her departure. No cameras, no parades, just the slow search for work, the hunger to feel useful, the hope that dignity could be found even in simple labor. And so she became a waitress. She carried plates, smiled politely, and listened to the clatter of dishes instead of gunfire. To strangers, she was just another face. But inside her, the discipline of service still burned. Now, here she stood. A billionaire's joke hung in the air like smoke. The room waited. Would she shrink away? Would she bow under the weight of wealth and arrogance? Instead, she chose dignity. Her French flowed with precision, shaped by years of study long before her service. She reminded him, gently but firmly, that language is not the measure of worth, and respect is the true currency of the world. Her words carried no venom, only truth. And truth spoken calmly was more powerful than all his riches combined. The billionaire's smile faltered. His laughter died. He shifted in his seat, his confidence crumbling under the weight of a strength he could not buy. His companions glanced at one another, uncertain, the silence louder than any applause. Across the room, a man in a worn cap slowly rose to his feet. Another followed. One by one, strangers stood, not clapping, not cheering, simply standing in silent solidarity with the woman who had endured their silence moments earlier. It was not her French that moved them. It was her composure, her refusal to bend, her unshakable honor. The billionaire lowered his eyes, his arrogance stripped away. For the first time in years, perhaps, he felt small. And Claire, without raising her voice, had shown him a truth he could never forget. Respect, she said softly, is the language everyone understands. The words lingered in the air, as quotable as they were undeniable. She turned, walked away with dignity intact, leaving him to sit in the ruins of his pride. No shouting, no revenge, only silence steady and unbroken, that carried more weight than any insult he had tried to deliver. In that moment, Claire's strength was not just hers. It belonged to every unseen hero who serves quietly, to every worker overlooked, to every soldier who returns home with scars no one can see. The billionaire would remember her not as a waitress, but as a teacher, and the lesson she left behind was clear. Wealth can buy many things, but it cannot purchase dignity. It cannot silence truth. It cannot erase honor. The restaurant slowly returned to life, forks scraping plates, conversations resuming. But something had changed. Every guest, whether they realized it or not, carried a fragment of her strength with them. True power, her life whispered, is not in the noise of arrogance but in the silence of honor. And as Claire disappeared into the kitchen, another thought lingered in the hearts of those who had watched. Sometimes, the quietest voice carries the loudest truth. Respect is a universal language. It transcends wealth, titles, and status. Claire's story reminds us that dignity cannot be mocked, and silent strength will always outshine arrogance. If this story moved you, share where you're watching from in the comments. What would you have done if you were in that room? And if you believe in honoring the silent heroes who walk among us every day, subscribe for more stories that celebrate their strength. Because sometimes, the greatest battles are fought not with weapons or wealth, but with silence, honor, and respect.